What's up, YouTube? It's Wayne with Wayne's Fish World. This is part 2 of how to set up a dirted tank. And if you haven't seen part 1, you need to stop and click that link right there. I highly advise you to watch this very educated, informative video on how to set up a dirted aquarium. Now, I've got to make this video short, so I've got to skip over some important elements such as CO2, which I tried doing, but my memory card ran out, and YouTube time ran out. So I'm going to have to skip over some important, not skip through it, but not go into great depth with some important factors. So I'm going to start off now without hesitation. In the last video, I stopped with basically filling the tank up, and you can see I got a fish in there. I wanted to cover how to acclimate a fish into your system with this video, but it just took too long. So if you want to see how to acclimate a fish the proper way, the least stressful way, which is the drip acclimation, click here on the screen. This is going to show you how to acclimate a fish from its pond, saltwater, brackish, or fresh the proper way and the least stressful way. The drip acclimation is a steady but surely almost 100% way to guarantee your fish will go into your tank with the minimum amount of stress. So to pick off where I stopped, you've got your water in your tank and you notice that your water is turning yellow, and if you don't do water changes, you're really noticing it's turning a really rich amber, almost alcoholic looking yellow. Now, you shouldn't put any fish or any plants in this stage, because it's going to burn up your plant roots because of excess nitrogen, and it's going to kill all the fish because of excess nitrogen. Simple as that. Now, when I say nitrogen, I mean the entire nitrogen cycle, including phosphate and other materials that would be toxic to in these levels to fish and plants. Now, how do you get rid of that? There's a couple different ways. One, you can put chemical media in your filter, whatever kind you got, hang on the back, canister, or sump, whatever. Put chemical media, carbon, in your tank. It will remove the tannin, but it will not remove it all at first. When you first set up a dirt tank, it's a lot of tannin, and your carbon will not handle it. You have to replace your carbon over and over and over. So instead of just wasting your carbon, I recommend running a little bit of carbon or running none at all, and just let it sit in the tank for 2 weeks. Because listen, guys, patience is a virtue, and patience is a virtue, and haste is waste. You need to learn that in this hobby. It's not as bad in freshwater as it is in saltwater, but you need to learn it, because it's just best if you take it slow and get it right, and that way you don't screw yourself over. So why I say wait 2 weeks is because two things. I call the dirt cycle because it's kind of like live rock with saltwater. You can cycle a tank without putting any organisms into your tank. And when I mean organisms, I do not include the bacteria that are microscopic. I mean macroorganisms, which are large. You can see them. Now, the dirt cycle, how does that compare to live rock? Well, if you don't know live rock is, it's got a lot of dead stuff on it, and when it's getting transported from water to the ocean, to the pet store, to the distributor, to your house, or whatever the order it is. The same thing with dirt almost. It's got a lot of pollutants in the dirt, and that gets leached out. Well, when it's getting leached out, it feeds the bacteria that thrive on ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. And what is the nitrogen cycle? A lot of people say you just can't throw a fish into your system, and this is why. When the fish make waste, or whatever makes waste in your system, it produces ammonia. Ammonia is very toxic in any amount of level. It would kill your fish unless it's like a betta. It'll kill a betta even. I mean, ammonia is bad. You don't want ammonia. You need to wait a while. Just keep feeding it, but if you got a dirt, guess what? Dirt's going to leach off ammonia, nitrite, nitrogen, and phosphate. So you can worry about the cycle. You don't have to worry about the cycle. You just got to be patient. Once ammonia gets away, you can watch nitrite. And once nitrite goes away, you got nitrate. Now, how do you know it's going away? You can go out and buy test strips at your local fish store, Petco, PetSmart, Walmart maybe. I wouldn't get Walmart. I think they got Jungle, and Jungle is not the best brand. So you need to test your water you cannot see the water quality with your eye. It might look dirty, but guess what? Your water quality could be very clean, and you could have a very clean tank, but it could be very dirty water quality. So you can get your water tested either through the pet store, which should do it for free, or you can go out and buy your own test strips, which is better because you can test it anytime you please. So the order is get rid of ammonia, you get nitrite. You get rid of nitrite, you got nitrate. Now, you're always going to have ammonia and nitrite in your tank. It's just not going to be detectable on any kind of test strip, unless, I don't know, there might be some $100 test kits out there. I don't know, but if any kind of ammonia or nitrite is in your system that can't be detected on a regular test kit, it's not going to harm anything. It needs to be there because it's balanced. It's feeding each step of the food chain. So you're left with nitrate, which is the final product in most cases. Note that I said most cases. There is another final product, which is nitrogen gas that releases through your system. But we're not going to get too much in that today. That's more advanced, and a lot of you newbies are watching this to learn how to do it. So that's a little too much of hit of you. So how do you get rid of nitrate? Nitrate is the final product of the nitrogen cycle, and you can get rid of that through water changes, which is what I recommend because you're killing two birds with one stone. If you're using plants, you need to do water changes to replenish the water with macro and micro elements. And you can use chemical media, which is kind of overrated. I think, in my opinion, it works, but if you got plants, why the hell would you need it? I mean, I run carbon, but I don't run that much. And if I do run much, I just put a whole bunch of my filter and leave it in there for a while. And you can use plants. Now, plants, this is what I'm talking about. Use water changes first to get rid of nitrates. Slowly acclimate your plants, and then your plants can get rid of nitrates, and you do water changes less often. But you're still going to need to do water changes, and this is what I'm about to talk about. Why do you need to do water changes when you got no nitrates? Well, your plants need to eat, and they're eating through three to four different spots. You got your light, your stem and leaves, and you got your roots. Everybody knows plants need light. They're photosynthetic organisms. They're autotrophs. So they make their own food through using sunlight. But you need to feed them in other places. You need to feed them their stems and leaves and their roots. Now, how do plants use sunlight to make food? There's a couple of cycles they use, such as the Krebs cycle. And basically, light hits the chloroplasms, the pigments in your plants. Now, why are some plants red and some are green? The reason some plants are green is because they're absorbing every light but that color you see. The plants that are red are absorbing every color except for that red you see, and etc., etc. So you need to feed them through light, and certain plants need higher or lower demands of light. You want to put highlights on an Amazon sword in a 10-gallon tank. That would burn it. It would melt it. And I think that goes with any plant on a 10-gallon. But anyways, you get my point. And you need to feed them through the roots. The roots are overlooked so much it's not even funny. It's slowly starting to grow on YouTube that you need to feed your plants through the roots, and I'm so glad because that's where they eat. They eat different foods from there. How you feed them through the roots, you can get dirt like I have, you can get laterite clay, which I have in the 125 as well. You can get root tabs, which I have in the 125 as well. You just need to get some kind of nutrients down in the roots so they can eat. Ask your local fish store, they can help you out. And also through the stems and leaves, and this is my favorite way to feed your plants. This is through micro and macro supplementing, and I cannot get into too much detail with this because last time I did, the memory card went out, and it was too long for YouTube anyways. So basically what micro and macro dosing is feeding your plants the nutrients they need to grow properly. And a lot of people know there's iron, potassium, and CO2. Now, CO2 is not an element, I know, but you might think, well, if I've got zero nitrates in my water, why do I need to keep doing water changes when the plants will take care of it? The water quality is good. Well, think about it. The plants need nitrate and phosphate to live, so you always want to have a little amount of nitrate and phosphate, just like you have ammonia and nitrite in your tank. You can't detect it, but it's always there, so it's always going to be present. So the same thing with your water quality. The water quality is going to go down in a long run because the plants are going to absorb all those nutrients, all those elements, and all those minerals in your water. So you need to replenish that through water changes. Like I said earlier, some plants need heavier water changes, some need little water changes. It varies through plant to plant. So you need to dose your system, and the two best ways to dose your system is through the EI system and CChem, or any kind of liquid fertilization. Now, CChem is popular, so I'll use them as an example. They've got products such as Flourish, which contains a little bit of everything. It would withstand swords, Java fern, Java moss, Anubias. etc. Jungle Val, which are very little demanding light, or it's a little demanding plants. And it wouldn't cover plants such as Cowagumnum over there and Pistillatus and other plants in here. But you can get Seachem Flourish Iron, Seachem Potassium, and Seachem Excel. Now, Seachem Excel, I do not recommend a beginner getting that. If you do get it, read the directions and do not overdose your tank. If you overdose your tank, you will find out you will kill everything. Not only will your pH drop, but you will suffocate your fish. And just be careful with that. So I recommend the EI system. That's a little better in my opinion. I'm gonna do that very soon. I'm at 125 probably, and maybe on this tank, we'll see. But you need to feed your plants through their stems and leaves, through their roots, and through their chloroplast, which is light. So you need good light, good substrate, and some kind of liquid fertilization or powder fertilization, dry ferts, to feed all three levels of your plants. Now, CO2, where does that come in? CO2, I used this as an example one time and somebody got mad. My video is getting short, so I've got to cut it short. CO2 is basically our oxygen, vice versa to their CO2 is our oxygen. Yes, I know I can't get into too much detail. Stay tuned to part 3 of this video series. I'm sorry, it was just getting good and I've got to stop. Stay tuned to part 3. Comment, rate, subscribe. If you have any more questions, let me know.